Abraham Lincoln is one of the most famous presidents in American history, and for good reason. His leadership during the Civil War and his efforts to end slavery have made him a lasting figure in American history. His legacy continues to inspire and influence leaders and citizens around the world. Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States, serving from 1861 to 1865. During this time, the country was grappling with the issue of slavery, which had been a source of conflict for decades. In the South, slavery was an integral part of the economy and way of life, while in the North, there was a growing movement to end slavery and promote equal rights for all people. Lincoln was opposed to slavery and believed that it was morally wrong. However, he also recognized that the issue was deeply divisive and that it would be difficult to address it head-on. Instead, he took a pragmatic approach, focusing on preserving the Union and finding ways to gradually dismantle the institution of slavery. One of Lincoln's most significant actions in this regard was the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. This executive order declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were to be freed, effectively ending slavery in the United States. The Emancipation Proclamation was a bold and risky move, and it helped to shift the focus of the Civil War from preserving the Union to ending slavery. In addition to his role in ending slavery, Lincoln is famous for his leadership during the Civil War. The Civil War was one of the most destructive conflicts in American history, and it posed a significant challenge to Lincoln's leadership. He had to navigate complex political and military issues, all while working to keep the country together. Lincoln was a skilled politician and a thoughtful leader, and he worked tirelessly to preserve the Union. He was also a skilled orator, and his speeches, such as the Gettysburg Address, are still remembered and celebrated today. One of the most notable challenges that Lincoln faced during the Civil War was the issue of conscription. In 1862, Lincoln signed the Conscription Act, which required all able-bodied men between the ages of 20 and 45 to serve in the military. This law was controversial and unpopular, and it led to widespread protests and riots. Despite the backlash, Lincoln believed that conscription was necessary in order to sustain the Union's military efforts. Another major challenge that Lincoln faced during the Civil War was the issue of prisoner of war exchanges. Many Union soldiers were captured by the Confederacy and held as prisoners of war, while many Confederate soldiers were captured by the Union. Lincoln believed that prisoner of war exchanges were necessary in order to reduce the suffering of both sides and to facilitate the resolution of the conflict. However, the Confederacy refused to exchange prisoners who were African American, leading to a stalemate in the negotiations. Lincoln ultimately resolved this issue by issuing the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were to be freed. This effectively ended the prisoner of war exchange program, as the Confederacy could no longer claim that African Americans were not covered by the terms of the exchange. Lincoln's efforts to preserve the Union and end slavery were not without controversy. He faced fierce opposition from many quarters, including within his own administration. However, he remained steadfast in his commitment to these causes and ultimately succeeded in achieving his goals. In addition to his accomplishments as president, Lincoln is also remembered for his personal qualities. He was known for his honesty, compassion, and sense of humor. He was a humble man who never let his success go to his head, and he remained deeply committed to the principles of democracy and equality throughout his life. One of the most notable examples of Lincoln's compassion and humanity was his response to the soldiers who died in the Civil War. Lincoln was deeply moved by the loss of life that occurred during the conflict, and he made it a point to visit hospitals and meet with wounded soldiers. He also personally wrote letters to the families of soldiers who had died in battle, offering his condolences and expressing his appreciation for their sacrifice. Lincoln's sense of humor was also a notable aspect of his personality. He was known for his wit and his ability to make light of difficult situations. This quality was especially valuable during the Civil War, when Lincoln faced many challenges and setbacks. His ability to maintain a sense of humor helped him to keep things in perspective and to remain optimistic in the face of adversity. Lincoln's assassination in 1865 was a tragic event that shocked the nation. However, his legacy lived on, and he remains a revered figure in American history. His leadership during the Civil War and his efforts to end slavery have made him one of the most famous presidents in American history. His personal qualities, including his honesty, compassion, and sense of humor, have also contributed to his enduring legacy and have helped to make him a beloved figure in American history. Lincoln's legacy extends beyond his time as president and his efforts to end slavery and preserve the Union. He is also remembered for his role in shaping the future of the United States. One of the most significant ways in which Lincoln influenced the future of the country was through his efforts to modernize and industrialize the economy. During his presidency, Lincoln signed the Homestead Act, which granted land to individuals who were willing to settle and cultivate it. This act helped to encourage westward expansion and facilitated the growth of agriculture and industry in the United States. Lincoln also played a key role in the development of the country's transportation infrastructure. He signed the Pacific Railroad Act, which provided government funding for the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. This project was a major undertaking and required the coordination of thousands of workers and the construction of more than 1,700 miles of track. When it was completed in 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad revolutionized transportation in the United States and facilitated the expansion of commerce and industry. Lincoln's efforts to modernize and industrialize the economy had a lasting impact on the United States. They helped to transform the country from a largely agrarian society into a modern, industrialized nation. Today, the United States is one of the world's leading economic powers, and this transformation can be traced back, in part, to Lincoln's efforts during the Civil War. In addition to his efforts to modernize and industrialize the economy, Lincoln also played a key role in the development of the United States government. During his presidency, Lincoln signed the Morrill Act, which established land-grant colleges and universities. These institutions were intended to provide practical education in agriculture, engineering, and other fields, and they helped to democratize education and make it more accessible to a wider range of people. Lincoln also signed the National Banking Act, which established a system of nationally chartered banks. This act helped to stabilize the financial system and promote economic growth. It also played a key role in the development of the Federal Reserve System, which is the central banking system of the United States. Lincoln's efforts to modernize and strengthen the government had a lasting impact on the United States. They helped to establish the country as a leader in education, finance, and other fields, and they laid the foundation for the modern, sophisticated government that we have today. Lincoln's legacy extends beyond his time as president and his efforts to end slavery and preserve the Union. His efforts to modernize and industrialize the economy, as well as his contributions to the development of the United States government, have made him a lasting figure in American history. His legacy continues to inspire and influence leaders and citizens around the world. Lincoln is remembered not only for his contributions to the growth of the United States government and economy, but also for his role in international affairs. During his presidency, Lincoln faced numerous challenges on the international stage, including the threat of foreign intervention in the Civil War. Lincoln was a skilled diplomat and worked tirelessly to maintain the neutrality of foreign powers during the Civil War. He also worked to strengthen the United States' relationships with other countries and to promote American interests abroad. One of the most significant examples of Lincoln's efforts in this regard was his negotiations with the French government over the construction of a canal in Central America. The French had plans to build a canal through Panama, and Lincoln was concerned about the potential impact this would have on American interests in the region. He worked to negotiate a deal with the French government that would allow the United States to construct a canal through Nicaragua instead. This deal helped to secure American interests in Central America and also helped to promote economic development in the region. Lincoln's efforts to promote American interests abroad had a lasting impact on the United States. They helped to establish the country as a global leader and paved the way for the United States to become a major player on the international stage. In conclusion, Abraham Lincoln is a famous president for many reasons. His role in ending slavery and preserving the Union during the Civil War, as well as his personal qualities and his contributions to the development of the United States and its relationships with other countries, have made him a lasting figure in American history. His legacy continues to inspire and influence leaders and citizens around the world.